This really necessary?
I don't know you, I don't trust you, and I'm not taking any chances. So it's safer for both of us if you're tied up.
Look, I get it. You're being cautious.
Glad we understand each other.
The name's Javier, by the way. People call me Javi.
Clementine.
So you're out of here too, huh?
Yeah. It's time.
Yo, what is up you lot? My name is SIF and today I'm bringing you guys a collab video with a good friend of mine, and he's a very good YouTuber. His name is...
Yo everyone, it's InfernoKun. Go ahead and check out my channel and of course, subscribe to the lovely SIF as well.
Many thanks. So, of course, if somehow you don't know who InfernoKun is, he's obviously a Telltale YouTuber who makes great content and occasionally makes other non-Telltale videos. We actually also collabed on his channel talking about the boarding school group and our opinions on them as a teenage cast. So watch this video and then after that you should definitely check out that video. First link in the description should take you straight to the video. So today's discussion is going to be mainly focused on the Garcia family and their role in season 4. More specifically, will the Garcia family be in the final season? Now InfernoKun, what do you think about the Garcia family and their role in season 4?
Now the Garcias, of course, I thought Javier was a great character, to be honest. Compared to, Kate, Gabe, and David, Javier was just, fantastic. He reminded me mostly of Lee, of course. And, he's the only one, of course, who isn't gonna die or already dead. Of course, Kate, she can go missing or, whatever, die. And we had David and Gabe, they can die as well. So looking at that, purely because Telltale, man, they don't like the terminate characters at all. They barely survive. Of course, you had Conrad, Lingard. Of course, they can survive, but seeing them go into another season would definitely be really cool to see how our choices actually, mattered. Because looking at what they did with Kenny and Jane, how they barely made it into season 3, it was kind of a bit disappointing that they actually went ahead and just killed them off, right in the first episode. And that was a bit, disappointing as well. So seeing if they can rectify that, whole thing with Kenny and Jane by making these characters actually come in. Because personally for me, I ended off with Javier and Kate. So, that isn't as, much work as bringing in David and Gabe as well as Javier. So I feel like they should probably not have a big role. Maybe a cameo or something. That would definitely be really cool and just less time consuming as well. So hopefully they really bring in these characters, not just have New Frontier just be like it never really happened or whatever, because that would have just wasted our time pretty much. And I would just love to see just what happens to Richmond and what happens to Javier after Clementine leaves.
For sure, there is the whole idea of Javier actually getting flashbacks, and of course Clementine being the main character. In season 3 it said Clementine's story will continue. Now of course this obviously depends on how much of a role Harvey has to play in season 4. Of course, depending on Telltale and how they're feeling about it. Javier can actually have a big role or a small role. I feel like a Javier flashback wouldn't be such a bad idea. Now I personally don't like flashbacks because I feel like they're a lazy way to just talk about writing, but obviously we already established Javier's role and we already know his character development and his story. So if he has reversed roles with Clementine being the main playable character and Javier flashback, maybe I would like it, but I'm not sure if I would like the 2-player system. But I would enjoy definitely some insight on what happened to Richmond after Clementine leaving, or obviously on the quest to find AJ. Of course there is going to be a time skip between obviously the end of season 3 and the start of season 4. That obviously fills in a lot of space for storyline and narrative. What about the missing family? If you obviously have Kate missing, how does Gabe treat you? What happens with Kate afterwards? Of course there's a lot of possibilities for Javier, and it's obviously very clear that his story never finishes. Season 3, you could say his story finishes abruptly, but it definitely does not finish period point blank. Of course there's a lot of space for storyline, obviously for Javier, and just because we're switching onto Clementine, I don't feel like there is no reason for us, to go back to Javier. I feel like a common consensus around the Telltale forums anyway is that we could get Javier as a cameo or obviously as a non-playable character if obviously as a conclusion of the storyline, Clementine goes back to Richmond to talk to Javier and obviously the determinate family, etc. And although I would think that would be a good idea, obviously Clementine going back to New Richmond, to the new frontier I suppose, and obviously seeing Javier leading, etc. That would be a very good idea, and I'd actually like that. However, I feel like it's too cliche. Obviously, that's what a lot of people think, so I'm not sure if that would actually make a good storyline, because it would be a bit predictable. However, if actually Javier obviously comes and looks for Clementine, because of course what Javier is expecting is you can determinedly tell Clementine to find AJ and bring him back.
If I bring AJ back with me, will you teach him too?
You bet. He belongs with you, Clementine. Bring him back.
However, with looking at the boarding group, you can very much see that Clementine is not going to stay there short term. At PAX East, Telltale discussed the character traits of each person and each cast member thoroughly. So I don't think Clementine is going to stay with them short term. I think the boarding group is going to be a huge part of the storyline. And maybe Javier feels worried that Clementine has been gone astray for so long. Of course, if she didn't find AJ, Javier could think that, you know, she'd come back to the New Richmond and actually tell him and inform him. However, if she is gone for long term, we could possibly see him around episode 3. What do you think?
Yeah, so definitely about the flashbacks, I'm not entirely sure how I feel about that. It could be good, but only like if they plan on, I feel like flashbacks could only happen if they plan on continuing The Walking Dead after Clementine. Of course, it's Clementine's final season, so I would be thinking like, what is the point of these flashbacks, unless it's like for her to eventually meet him, you know, at the end or something. Because the flashbacks, of course, you know, in the Frontier, the flashbacks were there to pretty much tie in Clementine's story and basically continue it in the final season, and that was the whole setup for the final season. So what would be the reason for flashbacks to happen in the final season if it's not for something to happen at the end involving Javier, or for them to continue on with a sequel to Javier's story? Now, going on to about the whole 2-player system, that would be kind of a bit, you know, that would kind of take away from Clementine's story as well. I feel like if this is the final season, and they should really just focus on ending Clementine's story. This should be it. It should be a main focus on Clementine. She should be the main focus, as well as everyone who is around her, not just somebody who is, you know, not around her at all. It should focus on, of course, Clementine and the people around her, the characters around her that are, you know, affecting her and molding her character. As far as her going back to New Richmond, that could be very good. I think that she actually should go back at some point to kind of just, you know, update Javier what's going on, maybe bring AJ back or something like that. It all just depends on, you know, what they plan on doing. Javier going after Clementine as well, that could also be a thing, because, you know, Javier now, he is now, of course, the leader of New Richmond, and he's going to have a lot of supplies to go ahead and maybe help out, you know, boarding school kids. He can probably just go ahead and have a caravan go to the boarding school maybe and give them some supplies and help them out and stuff like that. That would be pretty cool to kind of just have a little cameo, him show up, give some supplies and go away maybe. That could be pretty cool as well. So that's what I think about that. It has a lot of potential to like bring him up, just like not as a major role, bring him up as a little temporary kind of like friend situation, bring him some supplies, meeting up with her, talking to her about stuff. That could be very interesting, in my opinion.
That is definitely, I mean, going on to your point about actually Javier helping the boarding school kids, perhaps something that could occur in the storyline is that Javier, maybe perhaps the boarding school actually gets overrun by walkers or something along those lines, as a lot of organizations usually happen, you know, Prescott, New Richmond, the Marsh House, a lot of these locations were not safe for communities, and perhaps, you know, the boarding school could get overrun at one point. Javier makes an appearance and actually offers them and grants them a place in New Richmond where it's actually safe, obviously because Javier is the leader. Now, Javier's role would be very much significant in that matter. I think obviously a lot of people would say in season 3 that he stole the spotlight, and obviously Clementine, you know, she perhaps got a 10-minute flashback per episode. That is only, you know, maybe an hour. In season 3 she only gets 1 hour of actual storyline about her. The rest is really about Javier. Now, the reason why I wouldn't like the 2-player system is obviously because because Clementine, you know, we're not on par in terms of actual things we know about her. In season 4, we need as much storyline about Clementine. Clementine needs to continue, and her story needs to finish at the same time. Obviously in season 3 that was a setback because it was mainly about Javier, and so in season 4 I don't really want Clementine to get pushed back even more. I would say no on the 2-player system with Harvey flashback. However, of course, if they are going for at least 2 hours episode length, I wouldn't mind it so much.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely feel that way as well, because looking at how little Clementine got, you know, playable content, that wouldn't really, you know, suit for something that's supposed to end off this character's, you know, whole series. Because pretty much looking at, you know, how they, you know, went away from what they did in, of course, season 1 and season 2, it just took a whole new route in season 3, and it was really just like, it was received kind of poorly a little bit. You know, not saying Javier is a bad character by any means. He was just a great character, but he was pretty much too soon, if you know what I mean. They should have really just focused on just Clementine's story from the get-go, because looking at the Walking Dead TV show, they don't just, you know, go off somewhere random and, you know, you're like at this perspective of a whole different character. It's kind of, that doesn't happen too often. You know, it might happen in the comics, but not here in, you know, the game. So they should really just, you know, focus on Clementine. If they want to bring back Javi, they can definitely do that. He was great. He's a great character. Probably the only positive thing to come out of New Frontier was Javier. He was very great. And, you know, as far as his family coming back, that seems like a long shot, because Telltale, they really kind of dig themselves in the hole when it comes to trying to bring back determinate characters. And whether that happens or not, you know, that really just depends. They have to do a lot of work. But, you know, looking at how Batman handled, you know, the Joker and everything,
oh yeah,
anything's possible right now, because they definitely seem to be doing a little leap around when it comes to how they do things. They're trying out new things, so it's definitely possible to see a really, really big shakeup with The Walking Dead and see new things happen. That could definitely be really, really great in my opinion as well.
Yeah, of course, obviously with Javier being the only character that isn't a determinate character, you know, there is a bit of hope, as opposed to obviously the actual determinate family, which is of course determined. You got David is determinate, Kate is determinate, and Gabe is determinate. So obviously I know Telltale wants, you know, the final season to be on the same level as season 1. They keep making references and keep talking about how great they want it to be, which obviously season 1, it, you know, it had a good stance on determinate characters. So obviously if they want it to be on the same level, they have to make determinate characters great again. Of course they can also be lazy. That definitely depends on, you know, your outtake on Telltale. You know, of course they had the 25% employee layoff, and they also had the new CEO of Telltale. So there is a lot of hope for Telltale, but I wouldn't put too much expectation in terms of the determinate family. However, Harvey, he's got a good chance of actually being seen in season.
What thing I want to say about determinate characters real quick is how A New Frontier handled them, which I think was actually really, really great, and how they should actually handle determinate characters in their future games. Looking at characters like who are determinate, like of course the family, you know, Kate, Gabe, and David, as well as characters like Lingard and Conrad. Conrad can actually die like twice, and then, you know,
oh, yeah,
that's pretty good.
Started, yeah.
So those are actually some pretty good determinate characters. Various things can happen. You know, of course they can you can like be left with just Kate being alive, and of course, you know, David and Gabe being dead, Lingard being dead, Conrad being dead. So that's pretty significant. That should be how things should be. That characters can actually, you know, at various points live and die depending on your choices. That is how determinate characters should be. Now, having them come back from an episode or a season is a whole different story, because they have to rewrite, you know, different scenarios for if this character is here and if this character isn't here. So, you know, looking at how they like left off the season with determinate characters, that was just fantastic. But seeing if they can, you know, go ahead and implement them into the final season, that's going to be a challenge we have not seen before.
Well, thank you guys so much for watching this collab video with InfernoKun. It's been a pleasure to have you, InfernoKun, on my channel. And of course, I want you guys to go over there and subscribe to him. I want that to be the first thing you did. Obviously, his channel link is the first thing in the description, and of course I will be supplying the video link to his video that we did a collab about, obviously, the boarding school in the description as well. Of course, subscribe to both of us, like the video, and of course comment on what you guys think about the Garcia family and their role in season 4, the final season. Other than that, thank you guys so much for watching. Have a good day, and in a bit.
Bye.
Maybe she came back for you.
Could be.
I don't know what to say to that.
I'd come back for you. You know what I mean.